The Polar Express, directed by Robert Zemeckis, is an ambitious and entertaining but not entirely successful effort that feels strangely cynical despite the central message of believing in the Christmas spirit. The film follows an unnamed young boy, incidentally no character other than Santa Claus is given a proper name, whose belief in Santa Claus is faltering, but in response, the magical Polar Express arrives to take him and a bunch of other children to the North Pole so that they can meet Santa, and so that the protagonist's faith in Christmas will be restored. The Polar Express is fun and often sweet, but there is a not-so-subtle undercurrent of psychological wrongness running through it, starting with, and we had to go there, the facial animations. The Uncanny Valley is a concept which asserts that the more human-like a non-human object or entity is, the more disturbing it becomes. This is because the more something is made to resemble a human, the more the flaws and differences are apparent, and thus make the whole picture unsettling. The Uncanny Valley can manifest in artwork, robots such as those Japanese androids designed to mimic human expression and conversation, video game character models, and film animation. One notable recent example of the Uncanny Valley in action is the young Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy. To play the tyrannical program Clue and Flynn's younger self in flashbacks, Bridges' face was rejuvenated through CGI, but the end result was just a little too stiff and dead-eyed, and thus looked weird. Motion-captured facial animation in video games has gotten pretty damn good lately, but even in such pinnacles as LA Noire, Heavy Rain, and The Last of Us, the flaws and exaggerated movements stick out more, thus continuing the trend of a more human-like thing becoming more unnerving. Ironically, it is often the case that the less detailed or realistic something looks, the easier it can pass off as human. This is partly why Half-Life 2 and Second Sight, two games from almost a decade ago, still look so good today. Valve are the kings of making games look good with low-tech engines, and Second Sight's character models avoid the Uncanny Valley by being stylized. There are also a couple of recent tech demos, Meet Emily by Image Metrics and Quantic Dream's phenomenal short film Kara, that get past the Uncanny Valley by actually achieving a completely realistic, or at least a very, very close, real-time recreation of human facial expression, and I just thought I'd mention them for how impressive they are. By the way, Half-Life 2 and Second Sight are two games that came out in the same year as the Polar Express film, and their motion-captured character models are much better than those in the Polar Express. But after all this talk about the Uncanny Valley, the facial animations in the Polar Express really aren't that bad. The characters do look stiff and mannequin-like, and their facial movements look subtly wrong, which is all somewhat creepy at first, but as with some of the bad race-changing makeup jobs in Cloud Atlas, another movie starring Tom Hanks, you quickly get accustomed to the wonky facial animation, and it doesn't harm your investment in the characters. Besides, the visuals overall are beautiful. The ambitious, large-scale motion capture work in the Polar Express is a failure, but not a serious one. More troublesome is the characterization. The protagonist, credited simply as Hero Boy, has no personality beyond being generally friendly and holding doubt about the existence of Santa Claus, and every other main character is written in broad strokes as leader, know-it-all, shy poor kid, and so on. No longer believing in Santa Claus is something that happens eventually to nearly every kid, so Hero Boy represents a universal stage in human development, but that's all he's about. And if the passengers are en route to the North Pole to restore their belief in Christmas spirit, then none of the other main characters, with the exception of the poor kid, whose family is too poor to afford Christmas, are given any explanation as to why they are on the train or why their faith in Christmas and Santa is dwindling. The conductor is gradually revealed to have a kind, caring heart, but he's still kind of a stern, impatient jerk who is very harsh toward the children in the train. And please enlighten me if you know the reason, but I don't see the point of the conductor being so mean and blunt. The Mysterious Hobo was somewhat exciting at first, as he comes across as the embodiment of skepticism, a guardian angel, and even, to some extent, a manipulative Satan to Santa's godlike status, but the film does very little with this intriguing figure. The elves are terse and snide at times, and even Santa, while fundamentally nice like the conductor, is more stoic than jolly in a mildly off-putting way. There are many factors that will make some of us indifferent or even jaded about Christmas. My parents certainly are. These include no longer caring about presents, whether because you've matured to the point that you no longer place a priority on getting gifts, or because you have the income to buy what you want yourself, the hassle of finding presents for others, the obligation to visit relatives you don't like, the frenzied shopping, the ordeal of decorating the house and cooking an absurd amount of food, and all the terrible Christmas music filling the airwaves. I'd imagine that these factors would be exacerbated if you have children. I still like Christmas because I don't have children. I like giving and receiving gifts. Christmas is inexpensive for our family because we have no problem with giving and getting gifts found from thrift stores and garage sales, and I enjoy visiting and having Christmas lunch or dinner with the relatives I do like. Even so, those factors I listed before all serve to diminish the magic of Christmas from when we were children. As for belief in Santa, most children simply grow out of it, as they eventually realize that Santa is a cultural fiction told to delight and excite young children. But the factors in the Polar Express that test Hero Boy's belief in Christmas are artificial constructs within the film itself and don't appear to be metaphorical to any real factor of disillusionment with Christmas. At best, the hobo represents doubt and fear of being fooled in a very general way, and the poor kid symbolizes families that are too poor for Christmas to be feasible, which is regrettably common but certainly not universal. The film brings up the issues of belief and doubt about Christmas, but doesn't engage with them in a meaningful way, and the Christmas wonder it is trying to perpetuate is offset by the unpleasantness of the supporting characters. Hero Boy's belief, or lack thereof, is poorly defined and struggles under some mishandled symbolism at the end. The messages of the film are that true Christmas spirit comes from inside you, and that sometimes the most true things are what you can't see, which is all well and good, though as someone who values empiricism, it did give me little twinges of worry, and Hero Boy's doubtful belief in Christmas is indicated by his inability to hear certain festive sounds, most crucially the dropped bell from Santa's sleigh, or see Santa at the end. He desperately wants to believe in Christmas, and when he chants his belief, the bell finally rings and he is able to properly meet with Santa. But since the film never investigates why Hero Boy's belief is slipping, his revelation is hollow and the bell is empty symbolism, especially since you wonder why all the evidence beforehand, the magic train, the North Pole, the elves, Santa, and so on, didn't convince him before. But after all this grinchly complaining, I still like the Polar Express. It looks beautiful, has some pretty cool action sequences, Hero Boy and his young friend are basic but likable, there are a couple of nice musical numbers, and I like the logical envisioning of the North Pole, Santa's headquarters, as both a thriving town and a technologically advanced metropolis. Though the surveillance complex monitoring the world's children for how naughty or nice they are did, perhaps intentionally, feel a little Orwellian. The best scene of the film is a virtuoso tracking shot of a billowing ticket as it wafts across a mountain range and passes wolves, eagles, and huge cliffs. When the children finally reach the North Pole, the joy and fun of Christmas and its myths and traditions does shine through, even with the abrasive elves and off-putting Santa. The Polar Express has more flaws than virtues, so I can't call it a good movie, but like Lady in the Water, the exciting or touching good parts are there and make it a moderately pleasant, entertaining watch at least. The Polar Express earns 2 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.